Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the concluding Sedras of the book of the book of Vayikra, Behar and Bechukotai. And we've often said that sometimes people feel that the book of Vayikra contains so much information about the temple service, the korbanos, the offerings, the priestly caste, the kohanim, and we sometimes wonder, in terms of comparison with other books of the Torah, it's perhaps more difficult to navigate and understand and feel connected to. But I think we have to look at the structure of the Chumshei Torah, the 5 books of the Torah, and see that Vayikra as the central book, number 3 in the 5 books, we have the central plank, the beating heart. And in the book of Vayikra, as members of a kingdom of priests, although not everybody is going to belong to the priestly caste, we are all part of this holy enterprise of the children of Israel, of Bnei Yisrael, and we get a glimpse. We go inside the Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies, with the Kohen Gadol through the words of the Torah. Although only he is going to go there on Yom Kippur, we understand what the Kohanim, what the priests are expected to do, and in this way we are part of the whole experience through the words of the Torah. And we've often said that the way that a book or anything that we do begins and ends are so crucial. And so when we look at these last 2 books of the book of Vayikra, I think that Rabbi Sachs Zatzal points out in his book, tell you what it is, Studies in Spirituality, an excellent book with excerpts on the Sedras of the week. And we have in 2 ideas, I think, from each of these Sedras, Behar and Bechukotai. And from the Sedra of Behar, we have the idea of the centrality of mishpacha, of family. And in the Sedra of Bechukotai, we have the concept of a sense of direction, of the importance of knowing where your destination is, where you're going to, and that really informs your whole life. And I think that as we read these last two Sedras, we are going towards the festival of Shavuot. We are going towards the festival that we celebrate receiving the Torah, the gift of Torah. Shavuot is also known as Matan Torah. And we are also, these lessons, these messages, we are hearing them as we are in the shadows waiting for the Torah, waiting to receive the Torah. And I think that these messages are so very, very important, especially at this time. So first of all, the idea of mishpacha that we get from the Sedra of Behar. And there was Rabbi Sachs quotes an advertising campaign in the 1980s in New York, and there was an advert for Chase Manhattan Bank, and it said that in Chase Manhattan Bank, just one moment, in Chase Manhattan Bank, you have a friend in Chase Manhattan Bank, and underneath somebody had written, but in Bank Leumi you have mishpacha, and I think that is a very humorous way to summarize this relationship, this connection. And we see that the words of the Torah in many different ways certainly reinforce this idea. And in the Sedra of Behar particularly, we have a number of references to our connection with other people in a family context. And I'm going to start by reading chapter 25, verse 34. V'chi yomuch ochicha umata yodo imach. So when your brother becomes needy, this is the translation I have in the Gutnick Chumash, and we have another reference also further on, That is verse 39, chapter 25. So we know that we are not referring to brother in the physical, in the biological sense. It's not somebody who shares parents with you, but the fact that the Torah uses the word ochicha, your brother, is underlining that family connection, that we have to look on every single member of Bnei Yisrael as members of our immediate family. And that will inform the way we relate to them. And we have this concept, and I think that the English saying "charity begins at home" is a variation of this idea that excuse me just a minute, a variation of this idea that you've got to first start by making sure that your family are okay, and then from there you radiate outwards. It's not just a question of starting and stopping with your immediate family, but understanding that we are all part of one family. And Rabbi Sachs writes very beautifully that we are all either biologically or electively the children of Abraham and Sarah, and this really is a very, very different way of looking at our communities. And I think that this is a very central part of the message as we go towards the receiving of the Torah. And I think this also marries with the fact, as we move into the Sedra of Bechukotai, and we talk about a sense of direction, a common purpose, this idea of knowing where I'm going to and how that helps me along the journey of my life. And I think that what we can do is look at these two Sedras and see that we have the idea of bein Odom Lachavera, the commandments that regulate relations and our feelings towards our fellow man. And then we get that from these words in the Sedra of Behar, and we go to the Sedra of Bechukotai, and that is going to be focusing on Bein Odom Lamokom, the relationship between ourselves and between Hashem. And so these two, this dual aspect of Torah observance, of understanding and carrying out the words of the Torah, they are, I think, summarized in these two concluding sedras of the book of Vayikra. And the sedra of Bechukotai outlines in very clear terms the consequences of listening to the words of the Torah, the words of Hashem, performing the mitzvahs, and failure to do so. And it's often been pointed out that the blessings are very succinct. They span from verse 3 of chapter 26 to verse 13. So we have 10 verses effectively of blessings. And then we have im lo tishma'u, if you do not listen. And this runs on from verse 14 of chapter 27, and it seems to last forever, but it actually goes on till verse 46, and that quantitatively is obviously a much larger number. And in terms of the reading these chilling predictions and looking at our history and seeing how these words have come true throughout the course of our history, the consequences of our failure to follow, to observe the Torah. And if there is perhaps one word that we can look at and see that this word somehow summarizes the essence of the problem, this is the word keri. And we see this word in chapter 27, Verse is, let's just find that, 27, verses 3 to 5. Nope, no, that's not right actually. Sorry, 26, chapter 26, verses 23 to 24. So we look 26 and we look at the words on 23 to 24. Ve'im be'ele lo tivothru li. If despite these calamities you will not be sufficiently chastised to return to me, this is the translation of the Gutnick Chumash, V'halachtem imi keri, and you treat my commandments, I have here offhandedly this word keri. So the commentators have different explanations for the words. According to the Targum Onkelos, it means hard-heartedly. According to Rav Sadia Gaon, it means in a rebellious way, that you rebel against these commands. And Rashi understands it as casual concern. Rambam, Maimonides, talks about the connection of the word keri, the root kuf resh hey, with mikra, with chance, with something that just happens. And really, this is part of the Amalekite philosophy, that everything is random, everything just happens. There's no divine map. There's no route that we have to follow, and we don't, we'll just bumble along. And if we have Waze, a wonderful invention, will tell us how to get there, but Waze doesn't tell us where we're going. And this idea of being casual with in our relationship with Hashem, failing to understand and live by the belief that everything is part of Hashem's plan, and we have a unique part to play within that plan, and thinking about that and investing our energy in that, and this journey of self-improvement and love for the people around us. These are the most crucial messages that this word perhaps is giving us. And there's a very beautiful connection that joins the beginning of the book of Vayikra to this concept, this word of keri. So the Vayikra has the root kuf resh aleph, and that is calling, that is understanding that Hashem, through the words of the Torah, is calling out to each and every one of us. And when we come to this conclusion, just by changing that one letter from an aleph to a hey, we see that the slightest nuance, the slightest difference can throw a completely different light on the way we think and what we do. And it is so important as we prepare, as we first of all come to the end of the book of Vayikra, we say chazak, chazak, v'nischazek. We daven for the strength to absorb and internalize and carry out, fulfill the words of the Torah. And we want in this way to be worthy recipients of the Torah that we receive anew each day, but especially as we come towards the end, approaching the end of the Omer count that link Pesach and Shavuot, and receiving the Torah on Shavuot. Thank you very much for listening.